Dude, I literally swear to you, I probably recorded like one of my best commentary videos ever, and my mic wasn't recorded. I don't know why. I actually don't know why. I didn't delete OBS. I didn't update OBS. My mic was just disconnected from OBS for some reason. I don't understand. It has been a while since I've talked about Attack on Titan. I still love the series. I still am looking very forward to the anime. And I don't really know the reason for why I haven't uploaded AOT in a long time, but I guess the most obvious reason is because it's kind of dead right now. A lot of people aren't talking about it, and that's the funny thing with Attack on Titan. It's that when it's on, it's on. When the anime is running, everyone and their mother is talking about it. It was at one point during the season 4 running the most popular show in the United States, but when it's not running, no one's talking about it. People forget it exists. That's just weird. I don't know. I've never seen it with other series. It's just, yeah, I don't know, man. But I want to go back in time a little bit, pun intended, to one of the best moments in the entire series, which was in the manga chapter 121 and in the anime episode 79, Memories of the Future. You remember the days where I had to warn people of manga spoilers? The number of analysis I've done on these like 3 chapters of the paths is actually crazy. This moment was without a doubt one of the greatest plot twists ever, and I think you know what moment I'm talking about, because if you're gonna look at chapter 121 or episode 79, there's only one real big plot twist. But I do think that regardless of your thoughts on the series as a whole, regardless of what you think of the characters, the narrative, especially the ending, credit has to be given to this moment. Credit has to be given to Hajime Isayama for the creation of this moment, because without this moment, I don't think Attack on Titan would be elevated to masterpiece level. Masterpiece level is obviously subjective, it's a relative statement, but to me, masterpiece level is like one of the greatest things I've ever laid my eyes on in my life, and this allows Attack on Titan to qualify for that ranking. The War for Paradise arc in general also has to be given credit, because that entire arc is, again, probably the best arc in Attack on Titan. I think that's relatively objective, though there's some differing opinions. Return to Shiganshina and Marley were also phenomenal arcs. I've established that this plot twist was incredible, but this can be said with many of the moments in Attack on Titan. There's so many phenomenal twists and turns, reveals, betrayals, fights, everything. But this one just feels different, doesn't it? It just feels like it's the climax of everything, where we really get to see the main character fulfill his role in the story. He really puts himself in the position, he takes the driver's seat, and the story moves forward in his hand. That was just too poetic. When we compare the other twists in Attack on Titan to this one, there can be many subtle nuances and differences that can come by analyzing them. There is a lot of difference between this one and the other one. It's not the same. It is kind of the same because it's a twist, but it's also not really the same. Let's compare the Reiner Bertolt reveal and the basement with Eren manipulating Grisha. Now, it's not an insane betrayal like the Reiner Bertolt reveal, and it's not a build-up reveal like the basement. Reiner Bertolt's reveal was exactly that. It was a reveal. It was a betrayal. It was an emotional moment. And yes, it did kind of come out of nowhere, but there's a difference between a reveal and a narrative changing twist. Because the twist where Eren manipulates his father, a lot of new aspects in the story get added, and I will touch up upon that later. And of course, it's not really like the basement reveal, because the basement reveal was sort of like Isayama teasing us about something huge that was going to come up, and again, it's another reveal. It's not a part of the story that has been led up to at all. It simply happened because Gabby was just too clean with her shot. It's not something that was even considered by people really to happen. People didn't even expect them to go in the paths. It was either Eren would touch Zeke or he wouldn't. That was about the only 2 options we had at the time, but of course Attack on Titan pulls something out of its ass, and it turns out to be like the best moment in the entire show. So as I briefly mentioned before, this twist has a lot of new aspects added to it. Now, the most notable one is the paths, but there's also the Attack Titan's power, which is a huge reveal, hugely important, and covers a lot of the open holes left in the story. The paths were a phenomenon that was briefly and subtly introduced only when Ymir died and when Zeke almost died. So based on this, we can establish that they weren't really an integral part of the story. They were simply just a little aspect, little thing here and there coming. You know, it's not that big of a deal. You might speculate that it has some deeper meaning, but until this moment, it really doesn't. And they even give it meaning before this moment to make you think that that's about all it is. The meaning that the coordinate is the founding titan, that's like, okay, that makes sense. The shifters who die go to the coordinate where the founding titan resides. That just makes sense, doesn't it? But no, Isayama said that's not all it is, and he adds more to it. This is why I find Isayama's writing style absolutely fantastic and fascinating, with especially his plot twist. He introduces something that has a magnitude of meaning, but he subtly puts it to the side and distracts you with the other incredible moments in the story, like the fights and the narrative build-up moments, the character developments, and all those things. The things that obviously distract us from this moment are the fights that are going on at the moment, the character deaths, Gabby shooting Eren's head off, which was a huge moment. And another one was the numerous amount of Uno reverse cards that were being played in the paths with Zeke and Eren and their conversation. Another thing was Ymir getting revealed and the whole thing with her. So there was just a plethora of distractions. Quite honestly, I don't think anyone could have seen this moment coming. Again, because of the numerous amount of distractions. Now, saying that there's distractions and saying that some of this buildup was very subtle does not mean that there is no foreshadowing to this moment, because there is, in fact, a lot of foreshadowing for this moment. And it's very obvious when you go back and you look at it. This is why I actually have information for this video. An example is in chapter 1. This is a very subtle one where Grisha is not actually looking at Eren, but he is clearly looking in the direction of future Eren, and we get clarification on this in that chapter or episode. Another one is when Rod, Historia, and Eren were in the paths, and Rod asked Eren if he had been here before, and then says, you probably wouldn't remember that. Very suspicious, because even then Eren has a reaction. We probably had a reaction reading or watching it, but we just forgot about it, because it's such a tiny moment, but it adds to the foreshadowing. Another thing is obviously Kruger when he mentions Mikasa and Armin, hinting at the Attack Titan's power to see into the future through its future inheritors' memories. This is, I guess, subjective, but I think most of us can agree that Attack on Titan has undoubtedly some of the best foreshadowing ever. That's one of its best aspects, which is kind of why it has some of the best twists ever. And it probably has some of the most noticeable foreshadowing as well. And it's so interesting to me how even though it has some of the most noticeable and impactful foreshadowing in the story and most well-implemented foreshadowing in the series, the person watching still does not see it coming most of the time. If you really pay close attention, you might be able to get the certain hints of Reiner Bertolt's reveal. You might get hints of the basement, very small hints, because that was a big reveal. But you absolutely do not, I've never seen anyone see this moment coming. Maybe when Eren is standing on top of Grisha and it's like pretty obvious that Eren's gonna do something, you're gonna predict it. But before that, you just have no idea. And this moment leaves you dumbfounded. I don't know, I just think this is part of Attack on Titan's genius. No other series has made me think this way. I guess a few other series like The Gray Man and 20th Century Boys have implemented plot twists that have left me absolutely just stupid in front of the screen, but that's about it. There's some really good ones in other series too. I mean, Bleach had a really good twist coming up actually in the anime, but nothing does it like Attack on Titan. Nothing hits like Attack on Titan with the twist. Now, this isn't a moment that is like the other reveals in the story. It doesn't simply reveal something that fits into the current plot of the story. That might be kind of a contradiction for a few of you, but what I mean by fits into the current story is that it's already implemented. For example, with Reiner Bertolt reveal that humans can turn into titans. So when Reiner and Bertolt magically become titans, it's not like, oh my god, how do they do that? It's more so the shock that these people are the titans. Same thing with the basement. There's nothing really new introduced there. It's just a huge reveal to twist the story in a different direction. But with the paths twist, again, the paths and time travel and the Attack Titan's power get introduced, and immediately they're used to create this magnificent twist. And it's so perfect because it's not like it's introduced and it's kind of confusing. Might be a little confusing, but once you look back on the foreshadowing and really learn about everything that the story has explained to us up until now, it makes a multitude of sense. Isayama used this part of the Attack Titan's power. He used the paths to make this moment. This isn't something that could have happened at any other point in the story because these aspects of the story got introduced here. How often is it where you grow up with a character like Eren but you still never know his real intentions and what he's done? You can grow up with characters, you can know the character inside out, but the brilliant thing about Eren is he did something before the first episode or during the first episode from the future, but we don't know that until this moment. That is absolutely fascinating if you really think about it. While we're distracted by the persona put up by Eren, again, distraction, he plots his real plans, and when we are revealed to them, it honestly just seems surreal. But this moment is absolutely important. It's integral for Eren's character moving forward in the story because after this, he's establishing himself as the main villain of the story. I think I've summarized my thoughts on this moment. Not only was it absolutely perfectly executed in and of itself, but it sets up the final arc brilliantly, as I just mentioned. Eren's evil character is built perfectly to make him seem all the more malevolent. Without this moment, the final arc with Eren's character seems a bit out of character, but this, especially because it was something that happened in the past, makes too much sense. It is an absolute understatement to call this moment phenomenal because it was just out of this world. I guess that was another pun. Let me know your thoughts on Attack on Titan's plot twist, specifically the Paths twist where Eren manipulates Grisha, in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and take care.